What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 2 of the Locker Room to Life podcast on the Romanella's YouTube channel. I am 50% of the co-host unit here. I'm Andrew Romanella, and this is my partner, the other 50%, Juliana Bellar.
Hello, everybody.
Future Mrs. Romanella. And we are back for our second official episode here on Locker Room to Life. And Jules, I'm really excited about the topic that we have for the people today.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. How do you feel being back on the microphone?
As you saw, I'm like on the microphone, not even recording, and I'm talking to it.
What I realized about Juliana, which is why I love her and I'm excited to spend the rest of my life with her, is that she enjoys a microphone as much as I enjoy a microphone.
I may have been singing on it more than I was talking to it, but yes.
Just to bring you behind the curtain before we talk to you about creating a consistent routine here on the Locker Room to Life podcast, we're getting ready for the show. And we do a little prep and we talk about some stuff and we're deciding whether or not we want to record. And, you know, from my vantage point, it's kind of like pulling teeth sometime. And then the microphone sets up and this one over here is
showtime, baby.
And she is locked. And I see why you were a Division I gymnast.
Thank you.
Was the lights turn on? You're excited to go to work.
I just needed a little bit of motivation after my 9-to-5 day job.
I understand. All right, so let's give the people listening some motivation. Remember, subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube so you get every Locker Room to Life podcast. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about creating a consistent routine. So what I had my fantastic co-host do here is put her thoughts together for us so we can break this down in the simplest form possible. So Juliana, I'm going to ask you to start with your first point that we talked about in the pre-show, which was the people you surround yourself with and how that can help you or hurt you with your consistent routine. Go ahead.
Yes, it has a huge impact on you. And the higher education individual in me wants to hit you with this is the definition of consistency, but I'm not going to. So as you mentioned, you are like the people you surround yourself with. I heard a quote and it was like, you're the most like the 5 people you spend your most time with. So that can be either really scary for you if you think about it and you reflect on it, or it can be a really great thing. And I was trying to think about like the 5 people that I surround myself the most with. Obviously you, I spend the most time with, but then even just like family and friends. And I'm like, what are their routines like? And it makes so much sense because that's who I have the most similarities with. And they are very consistent in their own ways and in my own ways. So when people around you are doing what you want to accomplish, whether that's healthy habits, you're more inclined to also do it. For example, one of my biggest hobbies is and your family's too, is going for a walk and getting coffee and just talking. And that's across my family, your family, and some of the friends that I associate myself with. And it's so much easier to find consistency in going on the mental health walk when you're doing it with someone else and not just with yourself. So you can kind of evaluate, does your circle drain you or does it lift you? And I think that leads you to an answer on how hard or easy it might be for you to stay consistent.
I completely feel that because I felt like, and I'm not just saying that for brownie points on the show, people, but once we met each other, less about the dating and more just came into each other's lives, I felt like I took a step up because I learned so much from you about how you prepared for your job or how you prepared to assist the student athletes. And it was something I said to myself, oh, wow, well, there's some things I feel like I'm missing here. And I would never know that had you never been in my circle.
Well, thank you. And I have the same things from you too.
I love
for this show and getting on a microphone.
It's
I would have been much more comfortable playing my farming game on the couch.
And it's better to get comfortable being uncomfortable. A side lesson for the people today. Continue, Jules.
I would say too, another habit that you and I talk about is getting up. And if you're with someone who's struggling to get up in the morning, maybe they like to sleep in a little bit longer, totally fine. Or if you're next to someone who's like, let's go do something. You're more inclined to go and do it. I remember this one trip. It was actually a recruiting trip. So this is perfect for Locker Room to Life because there's an athletic piece to it. I went on a recruiting trip and the example the coach gave me was some Facebook story she saw. And it essentially was when you get on a treadmill, are you more motivated by the person next to you who's on the phone, yelling, walking really slow? or when you're next to someone who's like running on like a speed of 7
uphill, just absolutely
yeah, like doesn't that
sprinting.
make you want to, even though you're not trying to compete with them because you want to have your own motivation, your own individual goals, that just fires you up immediately.
I agree 100%. It's the environment. That's
Yeah.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well, I, for one, think that growing up, your parents can set that environment for you, and that helps you on the trajectory of starting with the people that are around you and how they impact you. Now let's flip it though, because it's locker room to life. Did you find that finding that after you graduated was difficult because you're no longer with your parents who gave you the motivation when you were younger, but then at the same time, all of those athletes that you were with at UNH, they're no longer there. So when you transition to no longer being a college athlete or training amateur athlete, did you find it difficult to continue to surround yourself with those people?
I would say surrounding myself with those people, not so much because those are my friends, I would say, from college or from growing up. You're around them. That's who I have in common with. That's who I have relationships with, that I, have my core people with. But I would say more when I first ended my sport because it was so intense, I had like a dip. Like I was like, I'm going to relax here a little bit because I was go, go, go. This is gun ho so hard. And I loved it and I wanted it. But there was a little bit of like, I don't really have to work out for 4 hours today, or like, I can have a piece of cake. This is great. So I think I had a balance of like, let me live a little bit more. But then also that went on for like only so much time before I found myself back in the, let me wake up at 6 a.m. before work and go for a workout. Right. Let me take care of my body and still treat myself when I want to. I would say there's like a hard balance, and you find that as you go along, like you deserve a break. But you also, kind of have to get back into a routine just to be a healthy and an elite human.
And that is literally the nut and bolts of being consistent, right? Like, yeah, of course you deserve a break, but you're by definition not consistent if you aren't consistent with the habits that you're creating. So let's talk about the discipline piece of it then, because it isn't just about saying, I want to have a circle of people around me that are awesome and I want to be able to be consistent. There's a discipline to it. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I remember early on when you and I were first hanging out, working out together, I would say, because you'd be like, I don't know how you just get up and start running on the treadmill.
Wild people. No stretching, just like run instantaneously.
Now I stretch because my fiance stretches.
As she should, and as all of you should.
Which there's a 5-minute video on YouTube if you need to learn how to stretch.
If you just subscribe to the Romanellas on YouTube, along. You'll be fine.
So as we talk about motivation versus discipline, motivation fluctuates. It's more emotion-based. If you're tired, you're sore, you don't feel like doing it. Discipline is kind of pushing past that boundary and doing it even when you don't feel like it. And the more disciplined you are, the more consistent you usually are. Discipline is action-based, more reliable. Motivation clearly goes up and down. And I'm sure you could attest to that.
Absolutely. That's why I talk to my players a lot about the habits that they have. A lot for me is the 3 things you do when you wake up in the morning. And you watch me do this with the Rome Show. Shout out the Rome Show. Subscribe to the Romanellas for that as well. And every morning there's specific tasks that I'm trying to get to, that those habits I feel like are what help me in that area, at least personally.
I also think one fact that I got from like a coach growing up was how long it takes to make that habit. You might not even realize that those 3 things that you do in the morning before the Rome Show took a little bit of time to develop. And obviously,
a long time.
If it's a small habit, like I want to try to drink a glass of water when I wake up immediately, that might not take as long. But if it's like, I want to make sure I stretch before I go for a walk, or I want to make sure that I journal when I wake up before I go do a podcast, anything like that is going to take like 66 days, they say. Research shows that it takes. ChatGPT shows. No, but I have heard this before I looked it up.
I felt like it's 2025 and I had to make that comment.
We can make it relatable. But yeah, it takes a long time to make a habit, and the more you do it over and over, the more consistent you become. And consistency, it grounds you more in chaos. So if it's like that time where you're like, I am working 2 jobs, I have to somehow remember what I have to take out to defrost to eat dinner. I have to be a good fiance and also take care of my body and a good family member. When you're consistent in those other areas, it's easier to keep that in the chaos. Insert having a kid, anything else that adds to your life that's going to be more
whatever
difficult.
Chaos is for you, insert it right there. And by the way, people, okay, 66 days for those counting at home, is more than 2 months. Okay. So that is not essentially 9 weeks. Break it down that way. It's 2 months and essentially 4 to 6 days, depending on which months they are. Like, it is a lot of time. The repetition it takes, that's the consistency. That's the habit. It's all meshed. And you're probably going to hear us talk about similar things on a lot of the shows, but that's because if we're talking about being a high level athlete and we're talking about transitioning from being a high level athlete to being a high level human after you are done being a high level athlete, the facts are the facts. A lot of it's going to trickle to be similar. And there's the consistency. There's the habit. There's the repetition. Insert whatever verbiage you'd like to use.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, in sport, obviously, the more repetition that you have and you do it over and over, the more you surround yourself with it, the easier it is. It's the same thing in life. If you start small with a habit and you're going to try to go those 66 days, there's going to be a point in those 2 months that you're losing faith or losing energy. So the more disciplined you are on that, the more consistent the habit will become.
It might have been 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, that Juliana and I recorded the last episode, but she put me on the spot at the end of that episode, and I've been saving this in my back
He's been
pocket.
waiting.
And I said, I'm going to do it on the next episode. So let me ask you this question before we get out of here on episode 2 of the Locker Room to Life podcast. Again, remember to subscribe and like the Romanellas on YouTube. Do you have something, whether it's a personal example or something you've seen successful that you've given student athletes or gymnasts that you've coached or anybody, that is a good starting point for somebody that might be listening to this saying, well, what's the first habit I create? What's the first repetition? What's the first thing I'm trying to put day 1 of 66 into? Do you have something for the people?
Yeah, I would say for me, I love working out.
Yes.
So that's going to be my example, because when you're a retired athlete, working out isn't necessarily like what excites you anymore. You're not like, let me go
changes.
Work out for 30 minutes at Planet Fitness versus practicing and playing baseball or being in a dugout with your buddies or getting through those conditioning workouts are so much better. So I would say if you take the example of working out, you want to start that habit outside of being required to doing it or somebody yelling at you or scheduling a 6 a.m. lift. Go no matter what. Like if you're like, I want to make sure I work out every morning, just set the alarm, wake up and go. Don't even think about it, because once that habit develops over those 66 days, you're just going to get up and go.
Yeah.
And the less thought that's in it, the easier it is to keep consistent. I would say, at least that works for me. Obviously, it's not a one size fits all. It could be different for you. It could be different for someone else. But something that works for me is to just like go and do it.
I love that, because I am a habitual hit the snooze button. And I get up early. So it's not like I can't get up early.
The 6:30 a.m. snooze button.
Right.
6:32.
But it's like all of those things where it's like, well, maybe if I actually did get up at the first alarm at 6:02, that extra 28 minutes, there's a difference there. That's 7 days a week. I'm gaining an hour and a half extra where I have a chance to your point, create that habit. If it's not working out, it can be reading a book. I have an aunt who just really enjoys sitting and looking outside and just enjoying literal mindfulness of life. Right. So it could be, for me, it's the podcast, right? For others, it could be anything, right?
There's a little forcefuless into it. Like you almost have to force yourself
you
to
have
do it
to.
at first.
Which is why I don't read, because I can't force myself into page 2.
You don't have the discipline.
I don't have the discipline for page number 2.
Me neither. I'm not a reader either. Jean Marie, your sister, would be like all over this. Juliana does not read.
Best line ever. We're at the beach and my mom said, I can't read more than 10 pages. Jean Marie's finished 2 books. I've never seen anyone in my life
Shout
read.
out Jean.
Shout out Jean Marie Rinaldi. All right, let's close this thing up. Any last thoughts before we end episode 2 of Locker Room to Life, Jules?
No last thoughts. I'm really excited and happy we did this.
I'm really excited as well. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you go subscribe on the YouTube or you want to comment on the show, if there's a specific topic that you want Jules and I to touch on, we would love to touch on that for you. Final thought for the day from me. We have transformed the YouTube also into a podcast. So if you're somebody that likes listening via the medium of the podcast in the car, on the walk, whatever the case is, maybe your new habit is waking up in the morning. And though we don't record a podcast every day, we could be in your mix of going for a walk and listening to a pod, and it can be Locker Room to Life, but it's also an easy way to share the show with the people. Thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of Locker Room to Life podcast. I'm Andrew Romanella. This is the future Mrs. Romanella. Still, though, Juliana Bellar.
More to come.
More to come. Thank you, everybody. Peace.
Peace.